not only I started to look at the type of things or recall the things that I had seen in the airports during my travel this weekend. Yeah, yes, I flew Boston Logan International Airport to Cleveland International. Boston Logan International Airport, and I flew Spirit Airlines. By the way, they were delayed on the return trip. The flight was delayed, and I was just the flight came out of, I do believe, Fort Lauderdale, so into Cleveland over and then jumped over to Boston. So I'm guessing it was delayed because of the Hurricane Patricia. That fell, most powerful hurricane ever, fell flat. Thankfully, a lot. There wasn't a ton of damage done down in Mexico, and from what I understand, there was no lives lost. Last time I heard, there were no lives lost attributed to Hurricane Patricia. Hurricane Pat! And that's a good thing. But it means that the United States mainland hasn't had a Category 3 or greater hurricane strike now 120 months. That's like 5 years now. I don't think we've really had one since. God's been good to us lately. Not going to deny it, not going to complain about it. But all you wonderful, climate change people, you're beside yourself with trying to explain this. But anywho, as they say down there, I noticed something in the airports, even in Erie, on the streets in the hotel at Erie, and on television this weekend. And it all started to, it really struck me because I was catching up on watching Last Man Standing. Now, I love that program. In its 5th season, believe it or not. I love that program. Tim Allen he's a hoot. And it's amazing that it's a hit, and it's now in its 5th season, because Tim Allen plays a character that is extremely conservative, and you just don't get away with that on lamestream media television. But he does, but one of the things, he's got a son, Ryan, who's very much a liberal. Now, I don't know what the political leanings are of the actor himself. I'm going to say that he, looking at him, that unlike the character he plays, who happens to be a vegetarian, that the man who plays the character Ryan, but Ryan's a vegetarian. And Ryan is also one of those guys that I call a girly man. Now, he doesn't look and dress like a girly man, but he's a liberal guy. He's an ultra-liberal male. So he has this feministic quality about him that, he doesn't want his 8-year-old boy to walk home from school, a walk that takes 7 minutes. And I'm thinking, you've got to be kidding me. But this is how we've in this country, we've gotten to the point now where, I look at a lot of times some of these high fashion stuff, what these male models are walking down the runway dressed in. And I'm not the only one who says those male models don't look happy. And my response always is, if you had to wear that, you be happy? So we've got this really continued feminization of the male of the human species. And this whole notion, with the man bun and the man purse or the merce, I'm feministic gay men that are just doing this. By the way, we're talking supposedly straight guys, straight males, who oftentimes I find act than women. And I know, there's it's like this. We have this dichotomy. We have this, and it's not just. Although it really, you want to go down racial lines. It really is something that's very prevalent with whites, but it's white males, but it's not limited to white males. And you could say, well, it's because it's their culture is different, but a lot of times it's certain Asian males, depending on where they're from, like Korea and Japan, there's also seems to be this huge feminization of them. But if you look at Korea has got a huge problem with the feminine. But the majority of this stuff, this feminization of males, comes from the West. Oh, excuse me. Here. But they have this notion that, it's okay to be a woman. I mean, we have reduced men so much in the feminization process since the 70s, and it really took hold in the 90s. That now we have men who are really confused and think that they are women. Now I know some people think, well, guys, there are dire consequences. Societally speaking, there are dire consequences with this. Now, it is at the point now where the New York Times actually had an article a few weeks back about what it means to be a man, what a true man is. And one of the things that they posted about being a real man is, and they were very adamant and very clear, that a real man today does not own, want, or fire firearm at all. Now, you got to ask, if that's the case, what kind of a military would we have if we feminized our men so much that they don't even want to pick up a rifle? We wouldn't have a military. And this whole notion that a real man doesn't fight with a woman, argue with a woman. In other words, it's supposed to wants. That a man is not, to be a real man today, you're not supposed to be a man. You're supposed to be sensitive and overly caring to the point where I one time I was in a karate, Kenpo karate. I was just monitoring it, I wanted to get back. I wanted to see what type of martial arts they were teaching, because the sign outside on the window didn't tell you the style. It just said School of Martial Arts. What style? It ended up being Kenpo karate style. All that interested in that style. Nothing wrong with it. I'm just not interested in it. But I'm sitting there monitoring the class and the teachers, the sensei's interaction with the kids, and the kids were anywhere from between. They were, there were a couple of small ones in there. Maybe they were 8, but 10 to 12. And the one thing that I noticed was, and we're talking evening. It wasn't afternoon. It was evening. So dads are at work, yeah, but they're home by now. 90% of them were taken to martial arts class by their moms were there. Now, there were a few dads there, but I couldn't, when they got to the sparring part, practice sparring, they have all the equipment on, sparring equipment, the overly padded gloves on the hands and the feet, because you get the kick, and you got the padded headgear on, and they're wearing their mouth gear, and mouth gear today is kind of ridiculous. They're well protected, and they're learning how to deal, with strikes and punches and kicks, and just practicing the martial arts with not full force, but full contact. And the moms there, all of them seemed to be relaxed by it. I mean, they were relaxed, just watching. And they'd give encouragement, good job, or good spin, honey, or good block, honey, and that type of stuff. Now, two of the dads, when their kids were doing it, I swear to you, I looked over, I saw them hiding their face in their hands because they couldn't look. Now that's what a woman used to do. Now here I am in this karate studio, and these ladies are acting more like men than two of the men that are there. But these are the guys that are going to be teaching their sons how to grow up to be males. I bet you those dads probably have MRSAs, and now fortunately for me, I didn't see anybody with a man bun in the studio, but I see them, everywhere on the street, and the rare occasion that I have to go to the mall. Oh, the malls, forget it. I can't deal with it. Yeah, one, because they tend to be overly crowded, but you walk by store after store after store, and these are stores that are geared towards our youth and males under the age. Walk by, and it's just, and the stuff that they have for girls is unbelievable. You want to talk about teaching a girl how to dress up to be a hussy? Well, you let her go to some of those mall stores. But what's worse is the stuff that you see that they say is for the male. I don't know if there was ever a time I would have ever have been caught with any of that stuff that they've got on sale there. I mean, that's just it. I'm not exactly sure, really, which in some of the stores, which side were for the boys and which side was for, because it looked nearly exactly the same. I'm not blaming this on any one thing in particular, but the feminization of our nation and our culture. Now, understand this. It doesn't mean that if you're impeccably dressed and you're well-mannered that you're a girly man. No, absolutely not. You can look, a few hundred years ago, the French and British, the hierarchy, the well-groomed and well-educated, and the military people, they were impeccably dressed. They even wore makeup and powdered wigs and all that kind of stuff. But let me tell you something. They were men. So it isn't always necessarily the outer expression as we know it, but in today's society, what these guys are wearing and the expression that they're putting forth is not being a man. It is being feminine. Guys are getting in touch with their feminine. No, guys are not supposed to have a feminine side. Just as women are not supposed to have a masculine side. That is why there are two distinct sexes in the human genome. Plain and simple. You can't. I don't know how else to put it for you folks, but this is getting out. It's really out of hand. And it is starting to affect how we interact with the rest of the world as a nation. And the rest of the world that will not, most of the rest of the world is looking at this country, including Russians, and laughing their you-know-what off. Can't be afraid of a bunch of girly men. What, you're going to sit in that foxhole and cry? They're not going to care. They're just going to shoot you. It's important, folks. It's important. Look, now we have women